All of these lovely cards are really simple to achieve with a minimum of extra expense. Just a few sequins, sparkly bits, ribbons and some craft wire is all you really need. You probably already have this in your craft box. The basic skills, such as cutting and folding a card, will be covered in our special basic skills section. Everything else is going to be covered in clear step-by-step instructions which I will demonstrate to you. Some of the cards are suitable to make with children, for example the ivy card and also the bay leaf card, and the lovely Christmas baubles. These cards are so simple to make, it's easy to make loads of them for your friends and family. All of the cards will fit into standard size envelopes, although for some of the more delicate cards, for example the ivy, bay leaf or the Christmas tree, you might want to put them into a padded envelope or into a box. You can also just cut out a sheet of bubble wrap and place it into the envelope over the design to protect it, or alternatively you could deliver them by hand. There's a full list of materials at the start of every project, so have fun and happy crafting and happy Christmas! For this Christmas card I've used some green craft wire, and onto the craft wire I've threaded some sparkly beads in the shape of a Christmas tree, and I've also added a little star sequin to top the tree off and put it onto a nice gold metallic card. You can also do this card in other colourways, and I've done one here in yellow. And as you can see, it's quite a simple design but very, very effective and can be in whatever colour you like. For this card I've taken some nice metallic gold card and I've cut it into a rectangle approximately 21 centimetres by 12 centimetres and then folded it into a card. Now, folding it out again, what I'm going to do is take the template that I traced earlier and I'm going to secure that to the card with a little bit of masking tape. Now, the reason for doing this is when I punch the holes through, I don't want the template to slip or I'll have to redo the whole card. Now, with the masking tape, it's a good idea just to check on a little piece of scrap paper to make sure that when you peel it off, you don't take away the metallic finish as well. So having taped that securely down, I'm now going to take the bradawl and I'm going to pierce the points that I've marked that I'm going to use to thread the wire through. So that's the top and the bottom of the tree. And now for the branches. There we go. And now carefully remove the masking tape. As you can see, we haven't taken away any of the metallic surface. And I'm ready to start threading the wire through. Now for the tree, I'm going to use some craft wire, and I've chosen a nice shiny green colour. And first of all, I'm going to pop the wire through the top of the card and bend it into position to secure it. Now, at this point, this is where you need to remember that the star goes on top of the tree first. So, having threaded the star on like so, I'm now going to take the wire and pop it through, pop it through the bottom of the tree, like so. I just press that down. Now, at the back, rather than cut the wire and seal it there, I'm going to just feed it through to the first branch of the tree, like so, almost like lacing up a pair of shoes. And then I'm going to start to put the beads onto the branches. Now, I've used approximately 8 beads per branch. But again, it's up to yourself. And my choice of beads, I've gone for a green, red and a gold. Got nice Christmassy colours. This may take some time to do this, but it's well worth it in the end. And now, having all the beads on, I'm going to feed the wire through to the other side of the branch. That's the kind of effect that we're going for. And then for the next branch, just pop it into the hole there. And then start the beading process again. So again, 8 beads. And now for the last branch. That's nice and secure. I'm ready to put my last beads on. We thread that through the final hole. And there we have our beaded Christmas tree card. Now, as you can see, the back of the card looks a bit unsightly, so what I've done is I've cut a piece of card just that little bit smaller than the front of the card, and I'm going to glue that onto the card to hide the wires. So taking my scrap paper again, and you want to put quite a lot of glue, make sure that it does stick down. And then place it over the centre. If you close it over and then press like that. And there we have the finished card. Now for my next card, I've done this very simple but quite dramatic 3D effect using a rubber stamp for the tree and also using some little glitter stickers to decorate the tree. And then what I've done is I've cut away half the card, as you can see, and I've lined the inside of the card with the contrasting colour, red for the green in the tree, and we get this rather unique Christmas card. Now, if you can't find a Christmas tree that's similar to our stamp, we found some more that you could also use. We've got a rectangular one there, or a slightly more complicated one in this stamp here. The good thing about the rectangular one is that you don't have too much cutting out with a craft knife, which makes it a lot easier. To make this card, I've used a shop bought blank, which is approximately 15 centimetres by 10.5 centimetres. And then what I've done is I've cut it down so that it's 12 centimetres deep. Now, I've used a steel ruler and my craft knife to cut it down to make sure I get a nice even and straight edge. Next, I want to put my rubber stamp, the Christmas tree, in the centre of the card. So I'm going to take my ink pad and my rubber stamp and make sure, because it's a new rubber stamp, that the stamp is well inked. And another little word of advice, make sure it's the right way up. I'm placing the stamp in the centre of the card. Put even pressure across the top of the stamp. Don't rock it backwards and forwards, because you'll find then that you've got a blurred Christmas tree. Perfect. You can see that there. And we're now ready to start cutting out. Now, before I start to cut the shape out, I'm going to put a piece of blotting paper over this so that I don't smudge the tree, take away any surplus ink. Oops, there we go. It's now safe to cut the card out. Again, make sure you close your ink pads, because otherwise they dry up. And taking my steel ruler again for the straight edges of the card, to make sure that's centred, yes. We're going to cut carefully. Through the card like this. Having done the straight edges, I'm now going to cut the rest of the rubber stamp using the edges of the stamp as a guide. Having cut out my 3D design, I'm now ready to place the contrasting colour behind the card. So I'm going to take some glue stick and place the red paper in the centre of the inside back of the card. Now this piece of red paper that I've cut out is about 11 centimetres by 9.5 centimetres. And what we're looking to achieve is about a ½ centimetre frame all the way around, like so. And now we're ready for the final touches. And for those I'm going to use some glitter stickers. And again, if you can't find any stickers like this, you can use sequins or glitter pens, anything that takes your fancy. Now these stickers can be quite difficult to get off, so I suggest using the edge of your craft knife like this to lift them off, and also to help you place the stickers on the card, like so. And I'm now going to put the baubles on the tree, and again using the same technique. Don't worry if you don't have too steady a hand for this, because these stickers can peel off and you can reposition them quite easily. And as you can see, our Christmas tree is now starting to take shape. Fabulous. And there we have it. One beautifully sparkly 3D Christmas tree. Not everybody likes glittery Christmas cards, so I've created these two on natural themes using press leaves that I found in my garden. The first card, using the bay leaf, to continue the natural theme, I've used handmade paper for both the card and for the panel that the bay leaf is mounted on, and also some nice gold ribbon to give it that Christmassy feel. For the more modern looking ivy card, which is very Christmassy, I've used nice mirrored card and also a cream and a red plain card to set off the ivy, and two little brads on either side of the ivy leaf to hold all the cards in place. To start with, I'm going to show you how to make the modern ivy card, and I've taken a piece of mirror card that I cut and folded earlier and showed you how to do that in the basic skills section of the DVD. And what I'm going to do is use the red and the cream card and stick them onto the mirror card. Now, my experience with the mirror card is it's very slippy, so to make things easier for yourself, you can take a glue stick like this and just a tiny piece of glue, you don't need a lot, on the back of the red rectangle. Centre it up and press it down. You don't need to press it too securely because we're going to be securing it later with the little brads that I showed you earlier as well. And then taking the cream card, again another tiny little bit of glue stick. Remember to keep the lids on those because they dry out very quickly. We're going to centre the cream card like so. So your card should now be looking like this. Next, we're going to take the little brads. Tiny, fiddly little things, but they can look very effective. know if the camera can see them there. And I'm going to take my bradawl, which is basically a very sharp point, and make 2 holes about 1/2 centimetre in the centre is where I'm going to put these on the cream card. Now push quite hard through because you want to make sure it goes through all 3 sets of card. And then lovely. Now we just have to pop the little brads through and then splay open the prongs to secure your card, like so. The card is now ready to put the piece of ivy that I pressed about 2 weeks earlier, and you can press that in a piece of blotting paper in a flower press, or if you've got a big heavy book you can also put your leaves in there. Now you'll need 2 pieces of kitchen towel for this. The first one is to protect your cutting mat, and the second one is to apply the gold wax. This wax can be bought in most craft stores, superstores. It's the same stuff that you use for gilding mirrors. So we just want a small amount of it. And starting from the centre of the leaf, in case you tear it, you want to gently wipe the gold wax over the leaf, like so. So we're still keeping the nice vein shape of the leaf, and we're getting a burnished gold effect onto it, like so. Now to fasten the leaf onto the card itself, I'm going to use double-sided sticky tape. And we just cut a little piece off like so. And taking care not to get too much gold onto my hands. Put the sticky tape like so onto the back of the leaf. And this is always the tricky bit. There we go. Peel the backing. And position the leaf into the centre of the card. Now let's wipe the gold off my fingers, like so. There we have a lovely finished card, and as you can see this is a very quick card to make, so if you have a lot of friends and family and you want to send them lots of cards like this, it's an easier option than some of the more complicated cards we'll show you later. Now I'm going to show you how to make the bay leaf card. I've torn 2 pieces of handmade textured paper, approximately 15 centimetres by 10 centimetres, and I've hand torn them, which we'll show you how to do in the basic skill steps. Now one thing to bear in mind with this type of paper is that you usually have 2 different colours, so that, as you can see, is slightly lighter than this. And for this card I'm going to use the deep red colour. Now I'm going to take the card that is going to appear on the front with the handcrafted paper, and I'm going to fold a little hinge about 2 centimetres, 1.5, 2 centimetres in from the edge, like so. We have our hinge. And then I'm going to take a piece of, this is a cotton watercolour paper, which I've also hand torn around the edges, and that's about 9 centimetres by 6 centimetres, and I'm going to stick that onto the front of my card using double-sided sticky tape. Now to make sure that it's completely secure, I'm going to use 2 pieces of tape. So we don't want these things falling apart in the post. There we go. And place that in the centre, like so. And we have the front of the card nearly ready. The next step is to create our burnished bay leaf. And I'm going to take 2 pieces of kitchen towel, one to protect my mat, and the second one to apply the gold wax onto the leaf. So we're just going to need a tiny amount of wax. Oops, come out. And then, holding the leaf down, sweep up the leaf and trying to accentuate the veins in the leaf as well, because it's a nice texture. There we go. Nicely burnished leaf. Now, we're going to use the double-sided sticky tape to apply the leaf to the front of the card. Move that out of the way in case we get gold on anything else. Lovely. Now, what I find when I'm using this gold wax is it can get everywhere, so if you need to wipe your hands or anything after that, feel free. I've done quite well this time, I'm not covered in gold. We're ready to make the card now. I've cut 2 pieces of cream writing paper, and they're about 14 centimetres by 9 centimetres, and I'm going to use these to sandwich between my cards. The cream writing paper is what you're going to write your greeting on. So we create a sandwich like this, and then using a standard hole punch, and making sure I've got all the bits of paper in there. I'm going to punch 2 holes through all of the cards so that we can tie them together with some nice gold lurex ribbon, which I found. If you prefer to keep the natural theme, you can also use raffia or even garden twine. Embroidery thread, really anything, the choice is yours. So thread that through like that to secure the pieces together. And then finish off with a nice bow. Now what we need to do is just trim the edges of the ribbon off. Little angle so it doesn't fray. And there we have our burnished bay leaf Christmas card. This Christmas card has great sparkle and movement. As you can see, I've used little pieces of card which are effectively leftovers from other projects, and I've decorated them with, again, more leftovers from projects, little sequins, and also some scraps of paper and some bows and some cord. I've attached the baubles with gold cord so that they move freely, and you get a nice movement like that. Now, the great thing about these cards is that you can do whatever colourway you like, and if you've got children, you can also get them involved by getting them to cut the circles out and to decorate them themselves. Obviously do the fiddly bits yourself, but all in all, a very unusual card. For this card, I'm going to start with making the baubles. And for those, I've chosen some scraps of paper that I had left over from other projects. We've got some nice silver mirror paper, and a glitter paper, and a gold paper. And I'm going to use the lid of a jar as a template for these. Now, the best way to cut this out is to turn them over and then draw on the back. So we want to cut out 3 circles from these cards. Now, rather than cutting them all out again, I prepared some earlier. So we have 3 circles. These are going to be our baubles. The first circle I'm going to decorate is the silver mirror circle. And for this, I'm going to make my own sequins out of a little piece of scrap gold paper. And to make the sequins, I've got this little hole punch, single hole punch, and I'm just going to pop out a few homemade sequins. As you can see, it's pretty straightforward to make. There we go. And all we need to do now is to stick them onto the silver card. So using glue dots again, because these are quite little and fiddly, just stick the glue dot onto the back of the little circles and glue them in place. So they are quite fiddly little things, but it's well worth the effort. And then we continue on like that until we have our finished piece, like so. For the next shape, I'm going to use some sparkly Christmas confetti. I've got some nice little trumpeting angels and some moon shapes. So I'm going to use 2 angels and 2 moons. And to secure these down, I'm going to use some little glue dots. There we go. And that's our second bauble. Now the third bauble, I'm going to use the silver paper, and I've found a scrap of gold mirrored paper, and what I've done is I've just cut that in half to give myself 2 gold strips, and I'm going to use double-sided sticky tape to secure these. So I'm using the very thin double-sided sticky tape, and again, if you can't get hold of this, the wider sticky tape is fine. You'll just need to cut it down a bit. There we go. We just peel off the backing, like so. And I'll put the first bar like this. And don't worry, I'll trim it down afterwards. I've glued some more tape onto this one, which I'll use. And there we are, that's another angle. And then taking a pair of sharp scissors, I want to cut around the bauble, like so. And there we have our 3 baubles. Now, to start to mount them, what we need to do is we need to make a hole to attach the string. So I'm going to make a hole in the top of each bauble using my bradawl. Like so. I've bought some gold cord, which I thought would be quite nice to secure the baubles to the card, and from that I've cut 3 lengths of cord about 10 centimetres, and I'm going to thread that through the top and then just tie a little knot, little easy knot, to secure it in place, like so. And I'll do that with all 3 baubles. And now I'm ready to add the bows. To decorate the baubles, I've chosen some nice gold lurex ribbon like this, And what I want to do is I want to pop a little bow on each bauble. Now I've made some bows earlier to use. So we've got these 3 little bows, and again I'm going to use the glue dots to secure them. So that's the first bow in place. Second bow. And the third bow. There's our baubles all ready to use. Now the card is a shop bought card, it's a blank card, and what I'm going to do is pierce some holes using the brad awl through the centre fold of the card. So the first hole I'm going to make will actually be in the centre of the centre fold, like so. And then the next 2 holes are approximately 4 centimetres on either side of the card. And to attach the baubles, you just need to pop the thread through the hole and then tie it off with a knot. So that's our first bauble in place. And the third and last bauble. Now that we've got all the baubles in place, all that remains is just to trim off the ends of cord. And there we have the finished card. For these 2 cards, I've used an indigo blue to create a night sky effect. And then on that, I've used some red felt, and some red wire and some holographic stars, all mounted onto this glittery silver background to give an effect of a night sky. Inside the card, I've mirrored the star on the front with a red inlay to make it easy to write your greeting. For this card, although it's small, it's got great impact. I've used the same midnight blue indigo card for it, and I've then used a circle of cream paper, which I've also used inside so that you can write your message, and trimmed the card off with some lovely pieces of red, a faceted sticker and the bow and also the wire wrapped around the candle. For this card, which is the shooting star card, I've already prepared a card template, and basically it's a 20 centimetre square piece of card which I've folded in half. And for the shooting star background, I've used some really nice glitter paper. Now, one thing you can find with this paper is that the glitter can come off, and if you have a problem with this, you can either use a charcoal fixative, or an even cheaper option is normal hairspray. And we're going to glue that onto the card. So taking scrap paper for gluing, and pop some glue stick on the back of it. You want to position the glitter paper approximately 2 centimetres down from the top of your card, like so. And now we're ready to make the felt star. For the star, I've drawn out a star shape that I quite like onto some tracing paper, and from that I'm going to cut out a template. Now, I've done this earlier to save some time. So there's my star template. And then what you do is you take a piece of felt, and taking a medium size felt tip pen, you want to draw around the star, like so. You're taking care not to move the star. It's slightly lopsided. And there we go. And from this, you just need to cut the star out with a nice sharp pair of scissors. Now there's one point to bear in mind, which you'll see in a second. When I finish cutting the star out, you'll notice that the back of the star has some little black marks on it from the felt tip pen. So when you're positioning the star onto your card, turn it over the other way so you don't see any of the marks. And now what we need to do is just fix the star onto the silver paper. Because I'm going to be putting the wire through the star, we don't need to have a strong fixative, so I'm just going to use a little piece of glue on the back to position it. And we want to put the star in the top left-hand corner of the card like this. The next step is to pop a little hologram star. It can be a sequin, it can be anything that you fancy really, that you think will fit. I found these, again, lovely little hologram stars, and because it's going to have the wire through it, we just need to fix it with a tiny little bit of glue, like so. The card is now ready for me to put the wire through. Now, in order to do this, we need to fold the card out, and then taking a bradawl, pop the point of the bradawl through the sequin star, like so. You'll need to press quite hard for this, and also wiggle it around a bit, because the hole needs to be big enough to get 2 pieces of wire through. So that should be big enough. And then we're also going to make 2 holes, and they can be approximately 1 centimetre from the bottom right corner of the card and about 5 centimetres down from the centre, approximately here. We're now ready to put the wire in. To do this, I've cut 2 lengths of wire, 15 centimetres long. I'm just going to feed the wire through like this to the back of the card and fold it down. I'm going to take the other piece of wire and again feed it through the hole. It's quite tight, so it is important to make as big a hole as possible at first. There we go. And then I'm going to take 2 more sequins, oops, and just thread them onto the end of the wire, like so. And then pop the wire into the hole, like this. We want to bend that back, as you can see there, to secure it in place. You can trim it down a bit if you think it's too long. And then feed the last wire through. And we just need to move our stars. And there we have our shooting star. To finish the front of the card, I'm going to apply 5 more glitter stars along the bottom. And for these I'm going to use glue dots because it's quite quick and simple to use those. So we just take the sequin, press it onto the glue dot, and then position it at the bottom of the card. They don't have to be in a straight line. You can make them a bit more higgledy-piggledy if you want that effect. And the final star. There we have the finished shooting star card. Now for the inside of the card, I'm going to put an insert in, and the reasons for doing this are twofold. The first is to use the insert to cover the wire so that you don't see the unsightly bending, and also so that you'll be able to write your greeting or stamp your greeting. So taking my scrap piece of paper to glue, I'm going to run a line of glue along the side of the insert and position it like so. Now we want to cover those wires, so I'm just going to draw a line of glue around one side of the insert, the one that's going to be attached to the front of the card. So putting a fair bit of glue on so it doesn't pop off. And then we just fold that over, press it down. And there we have it, the finished card. And as you can see, the wires have been hidden by the insert, and it looks very professional. I'm now going to show you how to make the candle card. For this, I've taken a piece of the indigo card, approximately 20 centimetres by 10 centimetres, and folded it into a 10 centimetre square card. And I'm now going to make the background. And for this, I've used the lid off a jar, and I'm going to use that as a template to draw a circle onto a piece of cream card. This is the same cream card that I've used as an insert in the card later on. So we're going to cut that out. Now, to save time, I have cut one out earlier. And I need to glue that onto the front of the card. So taking my piece of scrap paper for gluing, I'm going to pop a bit of glue stick onto the back of it, like so. And then place the circle in the centre of your card, like so. I've taken a piece of gold card, and from that I've cut out a little rectangle approximately 3 centimetres by 1.5 centimetres, and I'm going to use some red craft wire like this to wrap around the card. You can get this in most crafts shops, and it's very, very simple to use. So taking about 20 centimetres of red craft wire, I'm going to wrap it around the gold rectangle that I made. And as you can see, it's very, very easy to use. It's almost like cotton thread, really. And I'm ready to cut that off. Now, I use wire cutters for cutting wire, but you can also use an old pair of scissors. Don't use your good scissors because the wire will blunt the scissors. And just even out those bands. And I'm now ready to apply it to the card. To stick it to the card, I'm going to use a sticky foam pad, like one of these. And you just pop that on the back, like this. The advantage of these is it gives it quite a nice 3D raised effect. Pop the candle about 1/2 centimetre from the bottom of the circle, like this. And for the flame, I've used these rather lovely sticky faceted beads. And I've just popped it on like that. And the final touch is a little pre-prepared bow that you can buy in any hardware store, or craft shop, sorry. And we'll use a sticky dot to pop that on, like so. And there we have the finishing touch. Now, it's not quite finished because we need to put the insert in, so that's the final card with the insert. And as you can see, although small, it's rather special. For these two cards, I've used some scraps of silk that I had left over and some pieces of ribbon and some sequins. And as you can see, they've created some quite special cards. Now, for my first card, I'm going to show you how to make this silver card. And the first thing that I'm going to use is a lovely scrap of silk dupion. As you can see, it's shot through with two colours and it's got a lovely shimmer to it. And what we're going to do is take a 6 centimetre square, which I've already cut out, about this size, and we're going to start to fray it down by about 1 centimetre. So we're going to pull away the threads like so. Quite fiddly. So as you can see, we're getting a band of red there and a band of blue. Now, I have actually prepared one of these already, and this will be the finished effect. You get quite nice red and blue feathering, and then of course the silk dupion underneath. Now, for this card, this is a shop-bought blank card in a very nice silver metallic, which I think will set off the silk dupion rather beautifully. Oops, a bit more thread there. And I'm going to use some double-sided sticky tape to stick down the little square of fabric. There we go. If we place it about 2 centimetres from the top of the card. Like so. Now, for the decoration in the centre, I've managed to find a really nice holographic star, but you can use anything from a sparkly button to a sequin, anything you feel will suit. I'm also going to use a glue dot to fix this in place. These are rather clever little devices. As you can see, there's a little bit of glue there on the tape. I just press the star onto the glue, like so, and pull the star away. And the glue is on the back. And then fix it in place. Now these glue dots are very secure, so don't worry about that falling off. It should be fine. Now with the blue thread that I chose, I found some very nice sparkly stickers. You can get these in all different colours, shapes and sizes, and I've chosen these little flowers. And I'm just going to, if I can peel them off, there we go. I'm going to stick these on in a very simple pattern. Underneath the fabric. And here we have it, the final card. And as you can see, quite quick to make and very special. For this card, I found some really nice silk dupion. And I've also found some quite pretty ribbon and sequins, which I've used to make the card. And what I've done is I've used a shop bought card. This one's approximately 10.5 centimetres by 14.5 centimetres, and it also comes with a matching envelope. Now here's a piece of the silk dupion that I'm going to use, and it's got a lovely pink thread running through a violet thread, which gives it this lovely sheen. And what we need to do is we need to cut a rectangle piece of fabric about 16 centimetres by 5.5 centimetres, and we're going to start fraying down the side, down the two long edges for about 1 centimetre, so we can start to see that really nice bright pink thread coming through. Now, rather than doing this whole one, I have prepared one earlier, so we're looking to get this effect. Nice even pink threads shining through. I'm now ready to stick the piece of silk onto my card. I'm going to use double-sided sticky tape for this. Now, a word of warning about this: make sure it doesn't bubble underneath the fabric. There we go. I'll peel it off. And place it roughly in the centre of the card, probably about 2 centimetres down from the top of the card, like so. And we can just brush out and remove any stray threads. Don't worry about any overhang at this stage, because we're going to be trimming it down. As you can see, there's a little stray thread there. I'll just tease that out. Perfect. I'm now ready to put on the pieces of ribbon. I've chosen some really nice lame ribbon in a gold, and also a satin pink, which I think goes very, very well with the pink in the silk. So what we want to do is we want to cut 2 pieces of ribbon about 16 centimetres each, and I'm going to use some very thin double-sided sticky tape. If you can't get hold of this, you can also use the thicker tape and just trim it down. And I'm going to stick this onto the back of the ribbon, taking care not to bubble the ribbon as I'm doing it. Like so. Then what we want to do is to peel the tape off and place the pink ribbon along the bottom of the card, just above the frayed edges of the silk, like so. And I'm going to do the same with the gold lame ribbon, which I've already attached the tape to. And we'll just place it along the bottom of the top frayed ribbons. Oh, sorry, frayed fabric. Like so. The card's finally starting to take shape. I'm now going to trim along the sides with a pair of scissors, not a craft knife, because the craft knife will drag the fabric. So I'm taking care not to cut any of the card as well. There we go, lovely. And we're now ready to decorate the card. Now for the decoration, I've chosen some very nice gold flower shaped sequins, and we're going to take 3 of those. And I've also chosen some gold circle sequins as well. And I'm going to put those in between the flowers. Now I'm going to affix the sequins using the glue dots as we used before. very quick and effective way and of securing any decoration. So we take the sequin, press it onto the glue dot, remove it. We want to position the first sequin, the flower, into the centre of the card. At this point I'd like to say you don't have to use a flower, you can use whatever sequins or decorations or buttons that you have handy. And then the second flower we'll put towards the edge. Make sure we leave enough room for the circular sequins that will go there. And the final flower. I'm putting them about a centimetre away from the edge. We've got our gold sequins. In the centre of the card. Now these glue dots are very sticky, so try not to get them on your fingers if you don't want to damage the card. And there we have it. Very special card made out of silk, ribbon and sequins. The unique feature about this card is its concertina fold and the fact that the message is hidden inside and secured with a bow, so in order to reveal the message you need to open the bow. I've decorated the card with nice glitter paper, and also I've made a snowflake out of cartridge paper and then decorated the corners of the window with little holographic stars. For this card I've used a sheet of A4 red card, and I've already pre-marked this because we're going to fold it into 3, so that's 99mm for each section. Now taking my steel ruler and lining up with the marks, I'm going to use bone folder, and I'm using the pointed end of the bone folder. If you don't have one of these, you can use either the back of your scissors or the back of your craft knife, but do take care not to cut through the paper. And then I'm going to now take the right hand side and I'm going to fold this over like so. And then I'm taking the left hand side and folding it over like so. And now to make sure that the folds are secure, I'm going to take my bone folder again and run it along the edge of the card like this. And there we have our concertina card. Now what we need to do with the concertina card is to draw a 5cm square in the centre. Now I've done one of these earlier. So if you take your card and you open out the front section of it, and on the back of the section draw the square about 3cm down from the top and 5cm square in the centre. Now the reason for drawing this on the back is that when you cut out, just in case you don't want to have any bits of pencil mark on the front of your card. So we're going to cut out the square using the craft knife and the metal ruler. And again, being careful not to cut my fingers, or also to cut over the shape of the square. And there we have it. That's our window, ready to fill with something interesting. So I've cut a square of some very nice glitter gold paper, and I'm going to glue that in a position so that I can see it behind the window. So taking my glue paper and a glue stick. So make sure it's well glued on. And to position the glue paper in the centre, like so. You can see the effect that we're getting there now. And then I'm going to make a snowflake to place in the centre of the card. I've cut a small piece of cartridge paper out, about 4 centimetres square. And what we need to do is we need to start to fold it. So fold it in half and then in quarters. One thing to bear in mind when cutting snowflakes is hold on to that point, the centre point. If you lose that when you cut the snowflake, it may fall apart. Now, and fold it over again to make a triangle. Again, I know that that's the centre point. I'm going to use some very, very sharp and pointed embroidery scissors because you do need quite a fine pair of scissors to do this work. And so I know that this is going to be the centre point. I'm just going to snip off a little bit like so. And then to make the snowflake, we're going to do 2 prongs, like so. And now I need to decorate the snowflake. So I'm just going to take some little pieces, little triangles out of the side, like this. There we go. And I think just 2 more pieces should do it. Very, very careful with the scissors that you don't cut through the other side of the paper. And hopefully when we unravel it, it will be perfect. There we go. 1 snowflake. Now, one thing to bear in mind with these snowflakes is they're always going to look different. It's very difficult to recreate one that's the same. And in fact, I've made some other ones just to give you an idea. That's a couple that we made earlier. But I'm going to use this one that I've just cut out. So taking my glue sheet and the glue stick, just going to pop a little bit of glue on the back, and then with the card closed so that you can actually see the area you're going to place the snowflake, pop it into the centre on top of the gold card, like so. There we go, it's looking quite well. Now I'm ready to place the decorative stars onto the side of it, and I'm going to use these little holographic sequins you can see here, and I'm going to place one at each corner, and I'm using the glue dots to place them. So we want to put one there, and one there, and the last star on the last corner. And there we go, a nice glitter effect with the snowflake. Now to close this card, to make it look that little bit more special, I'm going to take the hole punch and about 4 centimetres down from the bottom of the square I'm going to punch a hole. It's a single hole punch this, so I'll punch right through the full card. And again the same on the opposite side. Line them up. There we go. I have 2 holes. Now I've cut a piece of lurex ribbon. It's about 50 centimetres, and I'm going to put the first piece through the hole and then around the back. There we go. Then we're going to tie this off with a nice bow. Like so, and I'm just going to trim the edges off so we don't get any fraying. Just a little snip, diagonal snip across there. Oops, just tighten that bow. And there we have our finished card. Now, you can buy shop-made cards which are already folded and even come with matching envelopes, and for this project we're going to look at Christmassy colours, so we've gone for reds and greens, creams and some really nice pearlised and metallic cards, and again they come with their own matching envelopes. These are available in most stationery stores and also craft superstores. Now, what I find is if I'm making a lot of cards, the most economical way to do it is to buy sheets of A4 card and cut and score them yourselves. Now, before we start doing this, I'm going to run through the basic materials that you'll need to do this. I use a cutting mat. I find these brilliant for keeping your surfaces clean and free of score marks, and also when you're lining up your paper, there's a grid mark on the actual cutting mat, so you can see straight away where you need to cut. The next important thing is a steel ruler. Plastic rulers, when you're cutting using a craft knife like this, can slip and you could cut your fingers, or also make the cutting edge that bit jagged because it can cut into the plastic knife, or the plastic ruler, sorry. Now, this is a bone folder. It gives a really good professional clean fold on your paper, and if you're going to make a lot of them, it's worth investing in one of these. You can buy them at most specialist paper shops. Now, on to cutting our card. So I've got my piece of A4 card, and to line it up with the grid so I know where the centre of the card is. And then taking the steel ruler and pressing firmly so it doesn't slip, and with the knife I'm going to cut out an A5 sheet of card. And now, taking our A5 sheet of card, I'm going to score it using the bone folder down the centre. So I'm using the pointed end of the bone folder. If you don't have one of these, you can use either the back of a scissors or the back of your craft knife, but take care not to actually cut the paper. So score like so, and then fold the card over, and taking the edge of the bone folder, run it down the side so you get a lovely even fold. I'm now going to show you how to make an insert. This is a practical solution when you have a card like this, which is quite dark and therefore difficult to write on. I'm going to use some white cartridge paper, but you can use any other type of paper you think will suit the card. What you need to do is to cut your piece of insert paper approximately 1 centimetre smaller so that you get this nice border around the edges there. I'm now going to fold the insert paper, like so, and then moving on to a piece of scrap paper to do my gluing, as I don't want to get glue on my cutting mat. I'm just going to put some glue stick along the back fold edge of the insert, like so, and then taking the insert and the card that I'm going to use, you want to place the insert against the fold line of the card and try and make sure that it's evenly spaced on the top and the bottom. So you have that effect. And then you'll see the solution to the problem of writing on dark card. You have a very nice inlay within the card. Here's a good tip if you have a lot of cards to make or you don't like your own handwriting. I'm going to take another insert, like so, and then I'm going to use one of these rubber stamps. You can get rubber stamps for almost every occasion. I'm going to use the Happy Christmas one, but I've also got Happy Birthday, I've got a With Love, a Thank You, and Best Wishes. And there is a huge selection of stamps like this. So what I'm going to do is to stamp my Happy Christmas on the inside of my inlay. Now it's a good idea to do this before you've put the inlay into the card, otherwise you might ruin the card if you make a mess of the stamp. Also, if you're not sure where to place the stamp, you can draw a very, very faint line in pencil to guide you where to place it. So we're going to pop it in the middle like so, apply even pressure. And there we have it, the first of many Christmas card inserts. Now here's a little design tip. Here's a card that I made earlier, and what I've done is I've used, as you can see, a different insert paper, a sort of slightly marbled effect to offset the gold, and I've also taken a little design detail from the front of the card, a little star in this case, and I've popped it at the bottom, and it gives a really nice finishing touch to any card that you're going to make. If you're new to rubber stamping, or you've only done it once or twice before, here are some useful tips and tricks to help you get started. The first is with your stamp pad, only open it when you're about to stamp. If you leave it open, it'll start to dry out and your stamps won't look very good. Now the other thing to remember is to try and ink your stamp evenly. A good idea is to test your stamping on a couple of sheets of paper just to see how you are with the stamp and if you're applying enough pressure. As you can see, these two stamps haven't worked out very well, probably because I haven't put enough ink on the stamp itself. So I'm going to press it down a little more firmly, make sure that the whole stamp is evenly inked. And rather than slapping it onto the paper quite quickly, I'm going to gently place it onto the paper, and then I'm going to apply even pressure all around the stamp. So I'm not going to rock it backwards and forwards because that will also smudge the stamp. And then take it away, and as you can see, it's a considerably better stamp. A few more practice runs with the ink and hopefully I'll have got the hang of it and I'll be able to move on to stamping my greeting cards. There we go. Now another useful tip is to have a packet of baby wipes or a wet sponge nearby. That means that when you're finished with your stamp, you can clean it off quite easily. And also, if you get any ink on your hands, you can use the baby wipe to wipe that off as well, so you don't want any stray ink getting onto any of your cards. I'm now going to show you how to tear handmade paper. One thing you'll notice when you buy some handmade paper is it's got a very uneven edge all the way around. If you were to take a scissors and cut a piece out, you'd be left with an uneven edge and then two straight edges. So what we do, in this case, is to tear a nice even line along the paper. So taking a steel ruler, we place the ruler along the line that we want to tear. Now, one important point with this is you need to give yourself at least 3 centimetres so that you can grab and pull, that you've got enough paper here to get hold of. And another thing to mention is this is the piece of paper that I'm going to use. This piece will be discarded, so this is the piece that I can curl up. If I tore from this side, the piece that I'd eventually use would become curled as well, which we don't want. So, taking the top edge of the paper, you just pull it down quickly along the side of the ruler. And some handmade papers will stick because they'll have various fibres in them. Don't worry about this, just tear it gently and ease it through. And you get a lovely uneven edge like this. And then, along the other side, again we want to discard about 3 centimetres worth of this paper. So placing the ruler along the side, I'm going to pull the paper down to create another uneven effect. And there we have it. And if you're not happy about anything like this, it's not a problem. You can just pull it and tidy it up by hand. There we go. Simple.